Hello, assalamu alaikum everybody. Hope you're all safe, sound, and healthy. And I'm back because it seems, despite all the podcasts by me and various other people, serious podcasts on how people are singing weird ass songs and self aggrandizing songs or lyrics, and how, music has become commercialized to this extent, and how people are running after superficial entities like brands and all. Now this is something I've talked about again for years, one way or the other. I have done podcasts on that. I have talked about how I would rather go for local made shoes and local made bags, and I've even told you how long they've lasted. And I'm thinking that there are quite a number of us, it seems, who have talked about these very important topics, trying to explain how and why we're actually not helping ourselves, our psychology, our mental health, our economy, our environment, our social lives, and even our evolution as a civilization by falling for, these capitalistic tricks or these class gratification tricks that keep cropping up again and again in all these various forms. It seems that people want to say, oh, you know what, this is all there, but who cares? Who cares? This who cares thing has always been my problem. I have repeatedly said that this is the essence of why our civilization has always gone towards a regression instead of progress. The point that our lack of consideration for ourselves and for others, the fact that we have this who care attitude, or who cares attitude, is what is leading to our own destruction. And it can go on to a global level. For example, hello, Palestine, Kashmir, Pakistan. Look at how countries are being exploited. America's own government exploiting its own people. Look at Britain, look at France, look at Italy. Look at the new government of Germany, even. Yeah, to me, the new government of Germany is far from impressive. All the hard work of the previous leadership in Germany, all the hard work, and she steps down, and that's it. It all goes to waste. You can see it literally going to waste in front of your own eyes. It was something I feared would happen, and it's happening. It always happens when a great leader who works so hard to keep your country on the right track, when they finally have to say goodbye and step down, then you get all this coming up. Look at Pakistan. Every time a leader it comes up and tries to work for the actual interests of Pakistan, you've got your American minions crop up left, right, and center, especially your British implant. The British implant since the 1947, networking where they planted your army. And so, hey presto, your army always seems to get very active every time a politician tries to do right by his nation. It's amazing, isn't it? What's even more amazing to me is how people never even figured that out, and that even the such big analysts also don't seem to realize and figure it out, that hello, your country was hijacked the very day it was founded, and one of the biggest fifth columnists or moles or minions or sabotage was through your own army organization. And here we are today, 70 plus years, and still not getting out of that. Well, anyway, so here we are again, decades later, in some cases even centuries later, and we're still in the trap. In fact, if anything, more so than before. Before, people still had more common sense, but now, thanks to social media, encroaching upon people's homes, it's so easy to recondition, to brainwash people all over again about your Gucci bags and your Versace's and your Louis Vuitton and all that. Why even? Why would you spend all that money on superficial? That's again what I keep on and on saying, that especially as Muslims, when we go into that aspect of life, you know, it can be very disturbing. In the long run, it is going to be disturbing because we're actually unknowingly, unconsciously doing the exact same thing that our religion is telling us to curb our enthusiasm against. You know, greed, superficialness, love for the world, you know. A Muslim ideally, or any human being ideally, should live life in transit, okay? Although I know it can be very painful because, ask me, my whole life has been one big transit. You know, I'm literally on the waiting platform in transit. I've been like that for all my life. I know how painful it is. But okay, setting that part of being in transit, aside, basically life is a journey. We have to spend life like somebody on a journey, okay? In that point of view, we're saying in transit. We need to remember that we are on our way back to where we came from, and we're just moving towards that end. And when you realize that, you will realize that your life is not about instant gratification or class gratification in this point of, in this very, yeah, in this context. It is not about superficial gratifications. It is about real gratifications, gratifications that matter, right? What are those? Knowing that you can challenge yourself, knowing that you're moving ahead in life despite everything. I keep on saying life is movement. If there is no movement, there is no life. As long as you're moving, it's good. It's a good thing. It's positive. But if you're trapped where there is no movement at all, then you're effed. And you're allowed to bear grudges and to curse that person, whoever it is, even if it's your own family, who have put you in that spot where there is no movement at all left in your life, where all your doors and windows are closed, where you're not allowed to challenge yourself to try to achieve your goals. Yeah. So, for example, parents who are always pestering their children to get married, they think that they're following Islam. You're not. You're actually going against Islam, because it's not about marriage. Islam is not about marriage and having children and, fulfilling worldly, superficial duties. No, it's about understanding yourself, self reflecting, getting ready to take the next step. Only and only then can you get married. How many times did the Prophet say, only get married if you are ready to have a family, if you know you can financially maintain a family? If you cannot, if you do not have a house of your own. Another thing that our people go against Islam, when they go for joint family system, it's haram. I'm sorry, but it is haram. I don't care how you like to polish it up, how you like to embellish it, how you like to justify it. In Islam, it is black and white haram to live in a joint family system. Your sons are supposed to have their own homes. Your daughter-in-laws are supposed to have their own homes, their own kitchens. It is the first and foremost requirement of getting your sons married, by the way. And then, when people talk about these things, when people are so aware now, when they talk about these things, then, society tends to paint it as, oh, people have become so greedy. They're always looking at, people don't want that people should live with their parents and this. It's not allowed in Islam. Go fight with God. You have a problem, leave Islam then, okay? Leave Islam, or wait till you die and then go fight with God. Because this is His rules. We're not making the rules here. You want to challenge God, go and challenge Him. But don't you dare try to tell somebody who's actually following what is divinely His right, what is the divine law, in fact. Don't go and try to, besmirch that person, or soil their reputation, or call them greedy and superficial. No, you are the superficial ones when you want your sons to get married, but you want them to stay with you in your own homes, and you still want to control them and their lives, and then you want to control their wives, and then you want to control, like, why do our parents have control issues? I've seen it in the subcontinent. Asian parents, they have control issues. They literally still have that Hindu Buddhist belief that they own their children, where again, as I said, it completely contradicts Islam. So keeping all of that in mind again, that hypocrisy that we keep on moving and thinking, oh, it is Islam. In Islam, everybody has a mate according to Islam. No, you're reading it all wrong. Not everybody has a mate according to Islam. Okay, God has said it 1,000 times that He has always made exceptions to the rule. He's made rules, then He's made exceptions to the rule. He's made pairs, and then He's made exceptions to those pairs. There are people who will spend their whole lives not getting married. What are you supposed, I mean, what are they supposed to do? They're supposed to kowtow to you for the rest of their lives. They're not allowed to have their lives because they don't want to get married, or because marriage isn't even in their destiny. So you decide to ruin their lives and make them sit at home and trap them and make them lose their goals, their dreams, their jobs, their actual lives. Why? Because you want them to get married. And then when everything goes wrong, then you remember God. So yeah, I have a huge problem with people like you, because you want your Louis Vuitton bags, and that time you don't remember God. And you want your 20,000 rupees suit that you'll only wear once. That time you don't remember God. When you're forcing your children into marriages, that because you think that that time again, you don't remember God really. In fact, you're just misusing God again here. So I don't know what you people are trying to prove. And this, I'm addressing Muslims in general, okay? Because my problem is, again, listen, those who are not Muslims, they can go whichever way they want to. That's their problem, right? I have a problem with Muslims, especially because when Muslims talk about Islam and then they do the exact opposite of whatever it is that Islam is saying, then I've got a problem. Because you're ruining lives in the name of Islam when you're not even following Islam. You're misquoting Islam. You're literally the definition of the devil who quotes the scripture to his own advantage. That's exactly what you people are doing. So again, coming back to the topic in hand, you do realize that when you're trying to get to that exclusive club, that the Birkins club, or some sort of a weird ass Versace club or whatever, or Chanel or whatever, and you're thinking that, oh, I have to have that item so that I can prove that I have made it, and you have to go through all those rituals. You do realize that in a way you're kind of going towards the shirk part. Yeah, because those objects are literally made to be enshrined like sacred objects, which again goes completely against Islam. Forget that, okay? Forget that you don't think that they're sacred objects and everything, but you just want them because they're exclusive. Okay, you want, again, why? What are you trying to prove, and to whom are you trying to prove? Are you doing the environment a favor? Are you doing economy a favor? Are you doing yourself a favor? Are you doing your afterlife a favor? Like, are you earning any points for your afterlife by getting that exclusive item, or that Birkin bag or whatever? What is it that you people think you're achieving by going to, a brand, for example, and getting the most expensive suit? What do you think you're actually proving when you're ending up buying 20,000 rupees worth of a lawn suit? Lawn. That lawn that was supposed to be a staple fabric that everybody could afford in Pakistan, but suddenly these good for nothing designers decided to make it into an elite fabric because they really didn't know what else to do. Because they became designers, but they didn't have any good design in mind. and they couldn't prove themselves to be actual designers, so they decided to monopolize the staple fabric. Do you know how for the longest time we tried to make and maintain lawn as a staple fabric? Although voile was supposed to be the staple fabric, yes, and lawn was always supposed to be slightly more expensive, but you do realize that for the longest time, lawn was made the staple fabric for a reason, because of our climate. And we are a cotton producing country. So why not take advantage of that? You know. But here we are. We have now made everything into an elitist. Why? How many elites do you think, by the way, Pakistan has? How many elites do you think that you should try to make a staple fabric an elitist fabric? What entered into your brains when you were doing that? Why even? Why do you have to have, listen, if I would be happy to pay a large amount for a branded bag if it actually proves to me that it was worth my money. And how should it prove to me? It should be durable. It should last me a lifetime. Is it durable? No. Will it last me a lifetime? No. It's going to chip in a year or two. There is no guarantee, because actually this is one of the biggest scams. And now recently, so many people have outed their scams. But there are still those brainwashed people who still think, no, but it is a kind of ritual. I mean, you do have to have at least one branded bag in your life to prove what again? What are you trying to prove, and to whom? Why do you want to have branded sunglasses? And why do, I mean, you need, these are things you're supposed to use: bags, sunglasses, shoes, clothes. These are things you're supposed to actually use. Tell me, how comfortable are you using your most expensive shit? Most of the time, it's going to be hidden, locked away in your drawers, because your help, your maids, your servants, they're going to steal it, or somebody else is going to steal it if, God forbid, you suddenly forget the item somewhere. Heck, people don't even leave shoes alone. They'll steal your shoes. So again, why spend all that money on something when you can get the exact same thing, sometimes even better, for lesser price, and you have the added mental comfort, mental peace and physical comfort, yes, but mental peace. And that you can comfortably wear it anywhere you want to and not be scared that somebody's going to steal it, I mean, how many of us are wearing gold now? Nobody. Nobody is wearing gold now. Why? Because you're scared that somebody's going to steal it. Somebody's going to snatch it. So what's the point of buying gold? Again, the whole aspect, this in itself is very superficial and capitalistic, where they have raised values of certain metals, and they've decided to call certain stones precious and certain stones semi-precious. And again, by whose calculation? Suddenly a group of people suddenly sat together and decided, okay, diamonds should be the most expensive. Then they decided, oh, we have got rubies and emeralds, let's make them the most expensive. And then they chalk it up to supply and demand and this and that. It's all rubbish at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, again, it's exactly the same kind of a scam as you have in artists' paintings, for example. When you go in a gallery and you're like, this painting is worth billions of dollars, and this painting is worth hundreds of dollars, and this painting is worth zero, and this. But again, who is chalking up the value of these paintings? You do realize painting is one of the biggest scams on earth. And the funny thing is that the people who fall for this scam are the elites. The richest people on earth are the ones who are falling for this scam, because, I mean, one would think, hang on, at the end of the day, it's a highly personal, subjective value that one puts on a painting. Just because somebody decides that Van Gogh was a great painter doesn't mean he has to be a great painter. I mean, it's funny, but have you noticed that some of your greatest painters, they have literally drawn what you now sometimes refer to as abstract, but they're literally something that a kindergarten kid would draw. And if you didn't know who the artist was, you would think, oh my God, a 5-year-old drew this and you're calling them an artist and putting it in a gallery. And then somebody will say, oh, it's Van Gogh. And you're like, oh my God, just look at the strokes. I mean, look at the depth of that painting. Like, are you serious? Value on art, value on metals, value on fabric, value on clothes, value on gemstones. These are all, again, man made. Everything here is man made. So, again, when you think of yourself as a person who you know has to die at the end of this day, there are two ways people seem to treat it. There's one set of people who think, oh, we're going to die. Let's just go and do anything and everything that we can in this world and make it worth living. Like there's no tomorrow. And then there's another set of people who think that, oh, okay, we're going to die. Let's make the most of it in this world so that we have something to cover us up for the next world. Let's earn points for our destination because we don't know when we're going to arrive there. A wise person would constantly think about their destination. And you know what? It relaxes the mind the most when you stop thinking about superficial things. When these things no longer matter to you, then you're like, oh, hey, you know what? Who cares? 80% of your tension is gone. Again, as I said, the real tension, the real stress is on people who try to stop you from actually living your life that you need to be living. That is the only stress that is always important, unconsciously even, actually, if only people knew that. That is the only valid stress here. When people stop you from living your life, when people stop you from trying to challenge yourself and achieving your goals, because at the end of the day, why are we here on this earth again? Is to challenge ourselves, to move to the next step, then to get to those goals that we have aimed for, to see if we can achieve those goals, It doesn't matter what those goals are, as long as they're not your superficial, oh, I need to get a Versace bag goal, Your goals are, again, how much you can get done in this life, what you can do, what you can see, how much you can travel, how much of the world you can see, what you can do for the betterment of this world or your own life, how you can do it the right way, how to steer clear of the wrong way, how to work hard, then the sweetness that you get, that reward of working hard and achieving that goal, when somebody takes that away from you, yes, now that is something worth stressing about. That is something that you have every right to fight the others for. That is something you have every right to even curse them for. That is something that you have every right to begrudge another person for. Again, even if it's your own parents, because we are supposed to make the most of it here. We can keep our lives as simple as we want to. We can make it as complicated as we want to. The point is how we can make our lives better in the way that we get inner peace. We're basically all striving for inner peace. That's the ultimate goal. And anybody who tries to create obstacles on our path to inner peace, yes, they really deserve not to be forgiven. They deserve to be begrudged. They deserve all your bad duas, and they deserve you fighting against them. I'm all for it. But when it comes to, again, superficial things, So much so that you're looking for shortcuts and you're looking for haram ki kamai, and you're looking for, oh no, we have to, this. At the end of the day, these are what are going to add to your losses, both in this life and at the end, because we have come here empty handed. We have to be ready to live without baggage, because we're going to leave empty handed as well. Again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't buy that Versace bag if you want to. Go ahead and buy it if you want to. But do not become one of those who think that that is the only way that you can mark your achievement in life. Because the real achievements in life are actually very small, and they're part of your regular life. And when you go through them, then the bigger achievements, it's like when you write a story, you know, you have the main plot, the main arc, and then you have the subplots with the sub arcs, you know. Those subplots and sub arcs are your little happinesses, your little kindnesses, your little considerations, all the little goals that are seemingly invisible that you keep on achieving throughout your life. The main plot, the main arc, those are your big goals in life, your big achievements in life. Again, they do not have to be superficial. They are for you. They're not for you to show people. They're for you, for yourself, for your inner self, for your own inner contentment. For example, you want to work in a certain field, you want to do that job, you want to go further in that job. That is worth it. It's a worthy cause. You want to go and travel the world and see what is out there. That is a worthy cause. You want to go up to space and you want to explore that. That's a worthy cause. You want to study science or math or any subject. You want to be a geologist. You want to understand the value, of geography, or of the layers under the soil, the earth, the minerals, the lava, the gold, the metals, whatever it is that the earth has, the secrets hidden within. You want to explore those. It's a worthy cause. These are all worthy causes. These are all something that you should go for. But sitting and saying, oh, you know what? I don't want to do anything. I don't want my children to do anything. I just want them to sit at home and, then get married. Yeah, no. That is not it. You get married when you have done whatever it is you want to do and you feel that, yes, I'm established enough. I can actually raise a family. I can feed a family. I can take care of my wife and my kids. I can provide for them. Yes, go get married. And stop forcing your girls to get married, please, again, because they're the ones who suffer the most. Okay? Your girls are also supposed to have goals in life. They're supposed to challenge themselves. These are not for men. These are for men and women both. That is what Islam says. And who are you, again, to refute their divine right to explore themselves, to explore their lives, to explore the world? Because essentially, again, as I said, that is what we were brought here to do. We were brought here to observe, to explore, to challenge, to achieve, to work hard, to move ahead. When you stop that flow in anybody's life, you are literally killing that person. And you're disrupting whatever they could achieve for their afterlife. Yes, you have disrupted whatever they could have done again for their afterlife. So that's a double lanat on you as parents or family members or spouses, whoever it is that you are. Nobody is allowed to impede another person's life. Everybody has the right to go and make their life. If it is somebody's goal in life to work hard, to challenge themselves, you have no right to stop them. If it is somebody's goal in life to live a simple life and not do much and not be surrounded by complications, you have no right to complicate their lives. That's all I'm saying. If it's your goal in life to get a branded bag, okay, fine, go ahead with that. But again, look at what you are doing in order to reach that point. No matter what your goals are in life, the point is, what are you doing to get there? That is what is most important. Because when it comes to life itself, then you understand that what that saying, that it's not the end result that matters, but it is the way you get to that result that matters. Yes. It's not what you've achieved that matters, it's how you're achieving it, how you're getting there, how you got there. That is what matters. Method matters. When it's life, method matters, not the goal. That's another thing you need to understand. So when people are impeding on your life's methods, then it becomes a problem. When people are taking shortcuts just to reach that superficial goal of class gratification, it doesn't have a good ending. And you will never get that mental contentment either that you're looking for. Because as I said, actually, every single one of us, when we're moving forward in life, the ultimate goal is that mental peace, that inner peace. And unfortunately, the world at large impedes upon that. So when we sit and think about what our goals are, it's, let's try and think really, what is it that we're here for? What are we supposed to be doing here in life? What are we supposed to be getting ready for? What is the ultimate destination? That is what we're actually supposed to be pondering over and taking every single step in our life towards. And again, as I said, nobody has the right to disrupt another person's life, because everybody has a different path, a subjective individual path that is only and only for that person, and he has to go through it. When people start disrupting those paths, you're disrupting the whole nature cycle, by the way, in case you didn't realize that. But as I said, again, look around you. Look at the whole global state that we are in. Look at the world wars that we're having. Look at the other wars that we're having. Look at these attacks that we're having. These all stem from this one simple act of putting obstacles in other people's paths, forcing people to leave their paths, forcing people to live like how America, for example, wants them to, or forcing people to abide by Western policies, or forcing people to accept Israel, for example, which, I mean, Israel is just a group of bandits, but we are being forced to acknowledge them as a country. How can you acknowledge a group of bandits as a country? And why is it that we have to sit and vote to recognize a country that was recognized even in the Bible? Palestine. Palestine is named even in the Bible. It's named even before the Bible came, and it's named even after. It was always Palestine. Palestine was always Palestine. It was never anything else in history. And it's funny that the world we're living in is where we have to actually sit and vote to recognize a state that has existed for centuries. It is a state that existed for centuries, and it's being occupied by a group of bandits. But we have accepted the group as a country, and we're actually still debating on whether the country itself is a country or not. It's amazing. It's just amazing. This is the kind of world we're living in. It's a miracle if any of us will get anything done. Seriously, it's a miracle. So, yeah, let's get our heads out of our brands and our preconditioned, brainwashed class gratifications, you know, and let's get back and focus on what's real, you know. A lawn suit, even if it is a 5,000 rupee suit, is still a lawn suit. It wouldn't make it any different if it was a 20,000 rupees suit, because guess what? That 20,000 rupees lawn suit is only going to be able to be worn once. The second time it's going to tear it into shreds. Why do you want to spend 20,000 when you can get it for 5 or 8 or 10, right? The whole point of dresses or dressing is to cover yourself up. Wear good clothes, wear good fabrics, but don't go towards the herd mentality where you have to go to Cardi and get your clothes, or you have to go to Kesaria and get your clothes, or you have to go to a bigger brand and get your clothes. Why? Clothes are at the end of the day the same. They're the same fabric. Where do you think they're getting their fabric from? Do you think they're manufacturing those fabrics? No, they're buying it basically from the same marketplace that you are going to get it from for a cheaper rate. Really. Again, I do not mind paying more if it's going to be worth it, if the quality is going to be robust, if it's going to be durable, if it's going to be environmentally sustainable, if it's going to be environmentally friendly. Yes, okay, it's worth the price. But if at the end of the day they're just scamming me, I don't even know if they're telling me the truth about where they've sourced their fabric from, or who manufactured it, or what exactly is the thread count, or how far it's going to go. Because again, it's very easy to be fooled today. You may think you know everything, but you can still get fooled. And again, as I said, we are not investing in ourselves. We do not want to spend money on books. We do not want to spend money on learning something new to improve our resume. We do not want to spend money on refining ourselves. No, for us, refinement means going to a parlor and getting makeup done, getting a mani-pedi, getting expensive clothes, and looking superb. In Pakistan, especially when you're talking about grooming and refinement, not just in Pakistan, actually, yeah, even in Europe and in America, you would see that. When people talk about grooming and personal refinement, this is what comes to mind. But no, actually, when we're talking about grooming and personal refinement, we're talking about character, personality, social etiquette. We're talking about, you know, getting better at something, learning skills, languages. We're talking about expanding your knowledge. We're talking about, increasing your mental capacity. We're talking about investing in yourself. But the priorities here are still the same, where you would rather spend lakhs of rupees on a bag that you wouldn't even be able to use from a questionable brand. Yes, because as I said, all these brands are actually questionable. If you go deep into Hermes, or if you go deep into Chanel or Versace and all, you will see exploitation behind it. You will see even labor exploitation behind it. You will see that they are actually not environmentally friendly. You will see that they're scamming you with something that you could actually, it's not worth the price. You will see that the quality is not what it's supposed to be. You would see that the durability is not there. You will see that they have lied to you in so many ways and aspects. You will see that you're just paying for their name. And the fact that it's very sad that people now actually know and recognize the fact that they're just paying for the name and they think it's worth it. It's not worth it. There was a time when you paid for a name because that name stood for something. But these names are not standing for what they claim to stand for. And then they don't even have the quality to boost. So tell me, what are we paying for? All that money, it would take a fraction of that money to invest in yourself. But no, you don't want to spend a fraction of that money to invest in yourself and to invest in your character, your personality, your life, your actual grooming. No. But you will spend 10 times more on a bag, again, as I said, that you will not even use mostly. Most of the time, it will be sitting hidden in your cupboard. Amazing. Again, these things are not going to help you in the hereafter. They're not going to help you when you're dead in your grave. If anything, you're just going to have more regrets in life. You would think that I couldn't enjoy this, I couldn't enjoy that. I couldn't have, I couldn't have had a simple pleasure because I was so busy stressing out about this and stressing out about that and hiding this and hiding that. And I couldn't even properly use what I spent so much money on. What's the point? And people always realize this when they're really towards the end of their lives. People realize all the wrongs they've done to others. People realize the inconsiderations. People realize the inconsiderations to themselves when their life is about to end. And then it's too late. So just food for thought. And this is me signing out. Khuda Hafiz.